Oh, whoops, let me get the recording going here. So we have that. So yeah, so we wanted to just talk about buyer consultations today. I wanted to make sure that we, are sharing great ideas and tips. Hopefully we can improve what we're doing, maybe find a few new tools or new tricks that we can include into our consultations. There's no right or wrong in doing a buyer consultation. It is really what you're comfortable doing and what works for you. But I love doing these masterminds because I have picked up some great, um, programs or tools that have enhanced my consultation. So feel free at any time, you guys, to unmute yourself, jump on in. I'm going to ask some questions. Share what works for you guys, and let's learn some new stuff today. So today I wanted to focus on buyer consultation. And this is after you've set the appointment. Okay. We're not going to talk about trying to get the appointment or scripts and things like that to get the appointment, but we're going to talk about, once we have that appointment set with a buyer to meet with them or do a Zoom call with them, what do we do, right? What's the next step? So there's a couple things. I'm going to kind of share my screen here, but obviously feel free to jump on in. Let me make sure this works. Can you guys see me or see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing I want to talk about is, once you've made the appointment, you're on the phone with them, do you do any type of pre-qualifying before you get to that first meeting? And this is just a question. We've learned different techniques over the years from previous brokerages, whatnot. Some people will do some type of a pre-qualification lead sheet or something like that so that they have some basic information before they get to the official consultation appointment. So I wanted to show you a lead sheet that, I've used for years and bits and pieces of it. I don't use the entire thing, but this is one thing that I do. I get all of their contact information. So I have that all in one place. Again, you don't have to use all of these questions or all of this information. I don't necessarily go into children's names and things like that, but if in conversations they mention, yeah, we've got a couple kids, great. I go, oh, how old are they? I don't necessarily ask their names quite, at this point of the conversation, because I don't know them very well. But getting to know some of this information before you get to the consultation is really helpful. And I'm just going to show you guys this. Again, you don't have to use it all, and I'll have Bruce put these, a link to these. Bruce, it's in Dropbox under buyers. There's buyer tools. So you can put that maybe in the chat box for everybody. But, you might want to just know, have they had other agents, show them properties at this stage when you finally, come into contact with them? If so, ask them, how's it going? Are they under contract with somebody right now? We want to know that, right? Because we don't want to waste our time if they're already under contract with somebody else. You might want to know who else is buying the home with them, right? Is there somebody else that will be involved in this transaction? You might also have some quick questions about who's going to be living in the home with you and why are you looking to purchase, right? Why are you moving? Maybe knowing if they currently rent or own is very important at this point in time. If they're renting, are they in the middle of a lease that may affect their purchasing timeline? Or if they own, will they need to sell before they make this purchase? So those are key bits of information that might be helpful for you to prepare for when you actually do that consultation with them. Also, knowing their purchase power, right? Are they going to be financing? Are they going to be a cash buyer? Sometimes people don't want to go into a lot of this, the question answer, while they've got them on the phone to set the appointment, because you might feel like it's too much. So again, I'll leave that up to you to maybe pare down a couple questions that you want to use, or maybe you feel comfortable going through some of these pre-qualification questions. Again, just a tool for you guys to use, but it really does kind of help you prepare. So you're going to find out a little bit more about their financing. Are they cash buyers? Are they getting a loan? And are they pre-approved? If they are, great, find out who that is. Do they need recommendations for a lender? Be prepared to give them names and numbers of your approved lenders that you guys use. Finding out from their perspective what price range they're comfortable with. It's always good to know like what they think they can buy and maybe then what their pre-approval letter, says or states. And if they're not pre-approved, this is a really important question. Where are you comfortable? And then have you been pre-approved? Okay, if not, let's get you in there and get you pre-approved to make sure that what you want to buy, you're able to buy, right? Because that's two different things. You don't want to get out and start showing somebody houses in the price point that they want before you know that they can actually buy that, because that is for me, you're setting them up for failure. And that's just kind of a recipe for disaster. So just getting a feel for where that buyer is mentally on what they can afford or what they're comfortable with. Is there anyone else involved in your home buying decision? That's an important question too, right? Is this a young person that maybe mom and dad's helping them out? Or, if you're talking to a guy and he's got a girlfriend or a wife that is going to be involved in this home buying decision, that's important, right? Because you want to make sure that maybe both of them are there for the actual consultation appointment if there's someone else involved in this decision. And then there's that question of on a scale of 1 to 10, meaning a 10 is you want to buy a home as quickly as possible, and a 1 means you're not even sure if you're really going to buy. That's a great question, because you're going to ultimately find out where your buyer lies on that motivation scale, right? Are they ready to roll and that's the buyer you want to work with? Or are they a 1 and they're really not sure? That might take a little bit of time and they might go into the nurture bucket down the road versus, ready to buy right now. So these are just really, really great questions. And when do you need to be in your new home? That helps with that motivation. If they say, well, I'm in a lease and that's not going to be up till next June. Okay, maybe we table this, or maybe we just do the initial consultation and we kind of get them on a search, but we aren't investing a ton of time until we know they're ready. Because really, as you guys know, we don't have that much inventory right now, and getting them out and showing them houses right now, if they're not able to buy for 8 months or 6 months or 10 months, that's really going to change really what's out there and what's available for them. Okay. So again, these are just some basic questions, just to pre-qualify your buyer. We'll get you a copy of this. You can modify it however you want, get it to what's comfortable for you. There's a spot for other information and information to remain confidential. And then there's also a little thing on the bottom that's kind of fun, to just indicate the behavioral style of this buyer. I don't know if you guys have ever done the DISC or gone through the DISC profiles, but there are different personalities, and we're not going to go into that here. That would be a fun mastermind class that we go through. But if you are familiar with it and you're able to just know, like the D, the driver, the high I, which is like our salespeople, we're very, social, blah, 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 and the S and the C, you can kind of just decide what type of personality they are and circle that just for your own personal reference, so you know what kind of communication style might work best with that particular buyer. Okay. Any questions on this? Okay. Chime on in. So not everybody does this. You don't have to do it. It's just a pre-qualification sheet that you can do, again, just to kind of pre-qualify and get ready for that consultation. So if you don't do all of these questions and you've set this appointment, what are you guys doing right now before you meet with your people via Zoom or in person to maybe set the stage for the consultation? Are you guys doing anything? Are you sending out like a box? A lot of people used to do the cute little boxes and say, hey, in preparation of our appointment, here's some things that I want you to have. Here's a little bit about me. Here's some tools or some tips and tricks before we meet in person. Is anybody doing anything fun to kind of set the stage prior to the consultation? Nobody?
Kelly, it's Angela here. You know, it looks like Jennifer might pipe in, but I just want to kind of say how awesome this process is that you guys have working with buyers. And I think as we go into the shifting market, you know, agents in the last couple of years have gone fast and furious and haven't had to slow down to really take this approach. And as we go into this uncertain market, I think buyers' expectations are higher, even on the lender side, to get educated. So I think you set yourself out doing a process like this to create that connection and that relationship. And even from a coaching standpoint, I'm just so encouraging people to get on these appointments and not do the Zooms and go through something like this, because you're going to set yourself apart from the rest. So I just wanted to highlight how awesome.
Thanks, Angela.
And thanks for sharing. We can go into it. Yeah.
I agree 100% that we're going to have to start working a little bit harder. I mean, I think a lot of these steps have been skipped over the last couple of years just because we haven't had to worry about it, but we're going to have to get back to the basics. So
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you guys. Sean and I use a system, Ninja. I don't know if any of you guys have gone through that training, but it's really awesome and very similar to this, Kelly, like very similar questions. And it just makes it so much easier, right? You establish rapport and trust. And, you know, one of the other questions that we ask is, what are you looking for in an agent?
Awesome.
And it's really interesting what people will tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then ask about their history. Not to, you know, hear bad about somebody, but you can obviously pick up what if they were working with somebody, they will tell you why they're not now, whether it was they were too pushy, they weren't pushy enough, whatever it was. So this is so important to establishing that relationship and getting them to work with you, obviously. So.
Absolutely. And I would say, don't shy away from asking those questions, right? Like, oh, you were working with so-and-so. What went well? What did you like about that? And what didn't you like about that? Because you're going to know right away what not to do and what to do, right? So those are great questions.
Right. And every once in a while you find somebody you're like, I just don't think we're a good fit for that person. And you find out early on, and you can maybe guide them, you know, maybe there's somebody else in your office that you feel is, you know, if you have a strong personality, if that client has a strong personality and you know, it's just not, it's going to be tough.
Right. I always say
refer it and get a referral fee and that.
Right. I always say, like, do not be attached to the outcome. And that's so hard. You know, we never want to lose a client, and we're willing to just dig our claws in to make sure that we, you know, can keep them. But not every client is a good client, right? And we've all been in those situations where some of them really monopolize our time, and may not be as serious of a buyer as we thought, and many other situations too. So yeah, just don't be attached to the outcome to the point where you're sacrificing your time and expertise for no real reward at the end. So one of the other things, since nobody else has any ideas, and again, if this sparks something that you go, oh yeah, we do something like that, please chime on in. And I'm going to apologize. For some reason, everybody's mic keeps cutting in and out on me. So I feel bad if I'm interrupting you. I will shut up. If your mic comes back in, I'll stop. What Bruce and I found through Angela, believe it or not, when we joined EXP, she had a really great High Note presentation. And High Note is a company that you can do an online presentation. And I'm just going to show you. After I saw that, I thought, wow, this is a great tool. I'm going to build my buyer presentation. I'm going to build my listing presentation. I'm going to build a bunch of different things on High Note, because I just thought it was a really great way to not only save money, because I can send this through email ahead of time for, you know, kind of to set the stage before the actual consultation, you know, versus sending the box in the mail. When we were with Keller Williams, we had these cute little boxes and we would send them out before the appointment, and it kind of gave them information about us and some information to kind of prepare them for the meeting. But, you know, it took time to go deliver or time, you know, money to send it via mail. So High Note is a really great program that allows us to do this via email. So I wanted to just show you, I'm sharing my screen right now. to show you what it would look like if you were the buyer and you received this email from me. So I have this one, thinking of buying a home, and it just says you've received a new presentation. And then I can put I sent it to myself, so I put my name in here, but you can see it says, Kelly, I'm looking forward to meeting with you about your plans to buy a home. Take a look through this so that you can get a little more, get to know a little bit more about us and the process, so that when we get together, we can focus on you and your home buying journey, right? So it just gives them a little preview about us, because those are a lot of questions, right, that you get asked. Tell me about you, like how long you've been in the business, all of that. Well, this can just really take that off the plate, so that when we get together for the consultation, we can really focus on them. So they're going to get this link, and I'll just show you when we open this up what they see and what they get. So they get, I'm going to hide my little thing here so that whoops. Move you guys. Hold on a second. Get you off my screen so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. So it's just like kind of a welcome, right? You're thinking about getting into the market to buy a home. Great. Better to be informed. And what High Note does is it allows you to just put a bunch of what they refer to as assets, right? Or just pieces of, whether it's video, whether it's a PDF that you want to share, whether it's, just forms that you want to get them familiar with, you can add them as an asset to this presentation. So for instance, I'm going to show you, I just start with just a brand new welcome. So I'm going to just quickly view this. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but just hopefully you guys can hear this. Did you know that buying or investing in real estate is the fastest way to create your own personal wealth? I'm Kelly Domaille with Domaille Real Estate, and I am so excited that you've decided to purchase a home. We understand the importance of both finding and securing the right property, but also enjoying the journey along the way. So with Domaille Real Estate as your trusted partner, we are going to help you explore all of your options and guide you along the way in making a great purchase. We put together some resources for you down below, so please check those out, and then we'll be in touch with you soon with your next steps. Again, we are honored and so grateful that you've entrusted Domaille Real Estate to help you find your next home. Okay, so let me go back here. Hang on one second. Get back to the, oh, maybe okay. Sorry, I think because I'm on screen share, some of my stuff's not working here. Okay, so they get this intro email or intro video. Then we include Meet Domaille Real Estate, and it's a full-on video about us and our background, so they really get to know a little bit about who we are and our experience in the real estate market. We include our home buyer's guide, so they can click on that and go through our whole buyer's guide. We also have what we call the purchasing pathway, and I'll go into that a little bit more. It is just a file that I use in the consultation process. So it really takes them step by step through the whole process of purchasing a home. And like I said, I'll touch on that a little bit more. I asked them in this presentation if they're pre-approved for a home loan. And if not, I give my list of approved vendors, approved lenders, and all of their contact information so they can get pre-approved or start thinking about that process. I include 10 commandments of buying, things that if they're going to buy a home, that they should not be doing or that they should be doing to really protect their purchasing process. I also throw in something talking about, have they considered building a new home? With inventory being low, this is a really great option for buyers if they're not finding something out there that is existing in the resale market. We just give them a little bit of education on what new construction could offer. And then I just give them a link to, my Calendly to schedule, and this is, I use this High Note presentation in many ways. Obviously, I send this out if somebody's already got an appointment scheduled for me, so we don't need to go through this. And then I've just got my contact information down here. So You can do whatever you want, but that's what's a really fun way to just kind of do a presentation ahead of time to give them some information and really set the stage for when you get together on that appointment. Okay. Any questions on that, you guys? Again, I don't want to use the whole time today on high note, but it's just what we use.
Kelly?
Yes.
Hi, Denise here. So I have a question just on the timeline. So you would talk to them on the phone and then take the intake.
Yep.
And then you would then send this out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then when you meet with them, is that when they've actually chosen properties to look at?
Nope. So this is just all in preparation of the consultation, right? So what I would do is if I were talking to you, I'd say, Denise, great. We have our appointment scheduled on Thursday at 3 o'clock. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a link to a presentation that we've put together. It has a lot of great information to kind of help you get prepared for the home buying process. It'll teach you a little bit about us so you get to know us so that when we actually get together Thursday, we can focus on you and, you know, your needs and wants for buying a home. But this will just give you a little bit of information ahead of time. And so they're already expecting it so that when I send it to them, then they can look through this. It's just a lot of really good material. And the feedback that I've gotten is like, wow, that was great. I had a lot of, you know, it was fun looking through a lot of that information. It was really helpful, right? And so that way they already know about me and Bruce and I, they know about our team. They've gotten already some value. I've built value into the fact of working with us before they even are contracted to work with us. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Thursday, then when I would get together with you, that's when I really do the deep dive into you and the consultation, taking you through what you're looking for, really finding out what's important to you, really educating you on the process if you're a brand new home buyer, you know, and or what's changed in the process since the last time you've purchased. And then I get into the paperwork, right? The agency and the buyer rep and all of that at that appointment.
Okay. And then just speaking of that, do you get the buyer's rep agreement every time before you take someone out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
I would say in the past, and especially in this last market, we've skipped some of these steps, right? It's been like, oh my gosh, the house won't last if we don't get you out there, and then we can do the agency when we meet you at the house, and we can do the buyer rep, you know, at that point in time. But as Angela mentioned, I think as this market starts to shift, we have to get back to the basics that protect us and our clients, right? But yes, we, as a rule, we get the buyer rep form signed before we start going out and spending hours of time looking at homes. And you guys should too, right?
Yes. No, I
Like
agree.
I said, more for the protection of you and your client. Your clients, you know, I think they just don't know what they don't know. And they don't understand our process. They think they can just call anybody and let's just go show homes, but they just don't understand what representation means. And, you know, that's where we come in to educate. So any other questions,
Awesome.
guys? You bet. So I'm going to stop my share here for right now. Okay, perfect. So however you want to set the stage, I would highly recommend you do something, right? Whether it's you send them some information just via an email, you do some sort of a presentation with a company like Highnote, or you do the little box where you can send something out to them just so they're prepared and you're building value even before you get face to face. Okay. So the other thing too about the setting the stage is even if you just sent a follow-up email, let's say you don't have any documentation to send to them, just send them an email to confirm, hey, great, looking forward to our appointment on Thursday at 3 o'clock. In preparation, here's what you can expect in the appointment. It should take about an hour. You know, just giving them some expectations so that they're prepared and they feel confident about that appointment. Okay. Okay. So now it's Thursday and we're meeting with these people via in-person or Zoom. What I would tell you is, you know, certainly follow up if you've sent anything. Hey, did you get a chance to look through what I sent you? Did you have any questions on that? You know, it's your chance to really just kind of build some early rapport on, just how they felt about it or how they feel about the consultation. Are they nervous? Are they excited? Is this their first home? Is this their second home? How long has it been? Just take that first few minutes of your consultation to just build some rapport in regards to them and their current situation and why they're buying. Okay. The next thing you're going to do in the consultation really is to do a deep needs analysis with this buyer. And honestly, you guys, I think this is the most important part of the process. Too many agents are like, oh, you want to buy a home? Okay, great. What do you want to buy? Oh, okay, perfect. 2 bedrooms, 3 baths, blah, blah, blah. When do you want to buy? And they just do the skim questions, what I call, the surface questions. And I really think you're doing your buyer and yourself a disservice if you do not do what I call a deep dive. And what I mean by that is that when you ask a question and you get a response, I want you to dig almost 3 to 5 questions deeper. Okay. And what I mean by that is, if someone were to say, oh yeah, I see myself in a house that, has a big backyard, or I love a big kitchen because I love to cook, right? Well, what does big mean? Because big to me might be different than big to you, right? So getting used to, when you're doing this needs analysis, of saying, oh, well, what does big mean to you? Or why is that important to you? And what would it mean if you could find a home with a big backyard, right? Dig deeper. Or I don't know what you mean by that. Could you clarify? Get them to really explain what they mean using general terms, which we all do, right? Big, open, I want room for my dog. Okay, well, what does room for your dog mean, right? We like to entertain. Okay, tell me more about that. How do you entertain? How many people do you have at one time, on a regular basis? So if you have 10 people every Sunday night for dinner, what does your home look like when it comes to entertaining? Let them do the talking. And really just ask those dig deep questions or those clarification questions. You're going to learn a lot more when you learn to do that on a regular basis. And again, I always say a minimum of 3 more questions, maybe go up to 5 to really clarify and dig deep. But the most important thing about the needs analysis is that you guys really listen and take notes. Okay. When they start talking about the house that they want to buy, you really need to be taking notes and listening. And the key to listening is you're going to know what follow-up questions to ask, right? Tell me more about the fact that you entertain. Tell me more about the fact that you've got 3 dogs. How much space do they need? Tell me more about what that space looks like. If you're listening and taking good notes, the follow-up questions or the clarification questions are going to be really easy. Okay. I have, and I'm going to share my screen again. I probably should just keep it up here, but let me look at this. I'm going to show you another needs analysis tool that we use. Oh, maybe I don't have it on here. Shoot. Sorry, guys, I didn't load it up. Okay. So I'm going to have Bruce, I'll find it. I'll have him loaded up as well in the chat box for you. But there are tons of questions that you can use that you are going to, I don't know if you guys have a consultation questionnaire. I have one, I can share it with you, but it is basically walk me through your home. What does it look like when we open up the front door, right? What does the home that you want to buy feel like? What does your kitchen look like? How many people will be living in the home? What does your kitchen look like? What does your yard look like? And obviously when they answer, you're going to then do the dig deep questions, right? How many bedrooms do you need? What level do they need to be on? These are all very typical questions that we ask, but sometimes we just don't ask enough. And if they say, well, I need 3 bedrooms on one level, why is that important to you to have 3 bedrooms on one level? What if we found a house that was perfect in every way, but it had 2 bedrooms on one level? Could that work for you? Right? Really get used to just finding the clarification questions to the answers that you get. Okay. Do you guys do any type of questionnaire or like, do you have a consultation process that you go through? Jennifer, I know that you mentioned the Ninja. Does that provide, I don't use that. So does that provide you with a bunch of questions to ask for people or to people?
Yeah, it does. Very similar to what you're describing, where you do that deeper dive as to, okay, so tell me about that, or why do you need that yard? Those sorts of things. Yeah, really trying to get them to visualize, if they could wave a magic wand, what would it look like?
Yep.
And then we actually have them write down their priorities, which is always interesting when you work with a couple. They think,
they both
yeah,
do it at the
my
same
husband's here
time.
too.
Right. Yeah, they both do it at the same time. Kind of take them and just have them do it, even though it seems kind of corny at first. It's nice just right there. Even though they've talked about it a dozen times, maybe somebody hasn't said something because they're afraid to, that's the other person not gonna like. So they just write it down. They don't talk about it, and then we share afterwards, and kind of force them, like, take a minute and just think for a minute and do it and write it down. So it's very similar though. Yeah, I've been listening.
Yeah. I love it. No, I love it because and that's exactly what we do. We do all these questions. We take them kind of through, the different rooms, the different parts of the house, the yard, whatever. And then at the end, we do the same thing. We have them list out their 5 must-haves. And if there are 2 people, we do the same thing. We ask this one to do it and this one to do it. And then we're going to compare notes, right? But then we take it a step further and say, now the 2 of you are here in the room. I need you to come up with a joint 5 must-haves. And it's interesting when you hear their conversation amongst each other. And I always say, I don't want to create any issues. I don't want I don't want you guys to like go to sleep angry tonight, but so just take your time and just have the dialogue of what's really important. And what's great for us as agents is if we can have them really narrow it down to those 5 must-haves. We know that this is the 5 must-have list as of the time of the consultation. We know this list can change, right? And you guys have probably been in that situation that when you're actually out there showing homes and they're looking at this house and it's like, oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I love it. And I say, hey guys, let me just remind you, because this is a good tool for us to bring on showings. Let me remind you of your 5 must-haves. You guys love this house, but it doesn't have one of your 5 must-haves. Has that list changed? Is that no longer a priority? And it really helps them self-discover too. What they thought might have been really important may not necessarily be so important, when they're actually out in the houses. It might also bring up a flag, where they weren't thinking about that. Like, oh, we forgot about that. You're right. That is important to us. That might be a deal breaker on this house, right? So it's just a really good tool for you to keep. What are those 5 must-haves, or what are their 5, top things that they want? And just bringing that up in every home that they go into that they really like. Let's make sure it meets your top 5. And if your top 5 have changed, let's note that, and then let's refocus on those items, right? Do you guys, anybody else do that, or have some kind of a way to narrow down some of the top needs for your buyers? I'm sorry, I don't know. Is this Zoom user? Is that Mercedes? It just says Zoom user. So, okay. Any other tips or tricks that you guys use during that needs analysis that you're doing with your buyers that you'd like to share? Yes.
I would say the other thing we do when we're talking about that list is, and this is all kind of ninja training stuff, other coaching companies too, I'm sure have very similar things. So just reminding people, like, look, here's your ideal list. If we can get 80 to 85% of that, we're doing really well, And now I don't know if we have like a list where they're just listing, here's 3 things we have to have. And we don't do the 5 must-haves. We did like a 3 or 2 or 3, whatever. And just say, if you can get 80 to 85, just so they understand, like, it's process of elimination, and there's going to be compromise no matter what your price range. there's probably going to be compromise at some point. There's going to be something that you love about this house. There's going to be one thing you're kind of like, oh, wish it was a little different, because we all kind of, our eyes are always bigger than our stomach, kind of. So I think it's just natural. So just helping people get in that mindset that, hey, if I can get pretty much everything and I'm 85% excited about this house, we're good to go.
Absolutely. I think, you know, that's just part of setting expectations too, and educating these buyers that really there's no perfect home out there. There, unless, even if, and I always say this, even if you build, the minute you walk into your new construction home, you're going to be like, you know what, I wish I would have done that. So there is
It's almost worse.
Yeah. There's just no perfect home out there. So I really like that script, Sean, about, you know, if we can hit 80 to 90% of what you're looking for, like that's a home run, really. And so just setting that expectation, otherwise you are going to be running yourself ragged with buyers, like just trying to find everything on their list, right? So great points. I appreciate that. So just to make sure that we, you know, can keep going, you know, you can set your consultation questionnaire up however you want. Like I said, I'll share mine. If anybody else has any resources, feel free to, you know, share a link in the chat box for everybody else. But, you know, use this as a starting point, customize it to the questions that you like to ask, you know, and just create one so that you've got kind of an outline to follow and that you're consistent with your consultations. It helps you so that things don't fall through the cracks, but it really just helps you hone in your skills as well. So once you kind of get through that needs analysis, you've dug deep, you've determined what their must-haves are. The next phase to me is really educating the buyer. And I'm going to stop my share again. I showed you in my high note presentation of what I use. We have a form called Purchasing Pathways. And it's an amazing product. Maybe I can even blow this up big for you. I'll go back here. It's just a really concise tool that allows you to, hold on one second, I'll pull it up. To go through the whole purchasing process. So, so that you don't forget anything, but can you guys see that? Okay. So I just kind of take them through the process, like, hey, here we are. We're at this initial appointment, right? We've just talked about your needs and wants, and this is really a critical meeting so that we kind of know how to move forward in finding you the right home. And what we're doing at this, you know, appointment is I'm determining your needs and wants, but we're really determining the purchasing parameters, you know, of the homes that we're going to be looking at. We want number 3, to make sure that you're pre-approved, right? I know what you want. I want to make sure that you're approved to purchase what you want. And so this is where we talk about that pre-approval process. You know, maybe they're already pre-approved, which is wonderful. If not, we suggest lenders, we give them our list of preferred lenders, or we refer them back to the presentation that we sent them earlier, that they already have that in that high note presentation. But especially too, if you're dealing with new buyers, they don't even, if this is their first time, they don't have a clue what this whole process entails, right? So explaining to them what pre-qualification is versus pre-approval, you know, telling them what that is and why it's so important, and just educating them on this step of the process. And especially the market that we're in right now, if we go out and we start looking at homes and you don't have a pre-approval in process, there's no way a seller's even going to consider your offer unless they know you're a pre-approved buyer. So this is the most crucial and really the first step in the purchase process. Okay. And then we just go into the next stage where we say, okay, now you're pre-approved. We know what you can afford. We're going to set you up on that search, right? So that you start to get the results of the homes that match what you're looking for and what you're approved for. And then we're going to go out and we're going to view homes. And then this is your opportunity to really kind of set the stage on the showing process, so they know what to expect, right? You let me know when you find a home you want to see. We're going to go out. We're going to take a look at that home. I'm going to ask you lots of questions. I'm going to remind you of your 5 must-haves. Does that home meet those 5 must-haves? And at the end of every home, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to say, is this the home for you? Is this the one? Do you feel it? right? And if not, well, then let's move on to the next one, right? I always set the expectation of, I'm going to send you what's out there. We're going to go see maybe those top 3 to 5 homes right out of the gate, you know, to look at everything that comes available. In this market probably is only maybe 3 to 5 homes, but in some markets, it could be 20 different homes, right? We don't want to go see 20 different homes. We're going to look at and have you pick out your top five homes, right? Those are going to be those A homes. If those homes don't have it, the next homes are really in the B. They didn't appeal to you, right? They didn't stand out for some reason. So, you know, let's focus on the A homes before we get to the B homes, because we're going to have a better chance of finding the one you like out of the ones that really initially appealed to you, right? Anybody else do anything in setting expectations before you guys go out and show properties? Denise?
I clearly have a lot that I could be doing different.
Good, that's what this is for.
Yes, no, this is fine. I mean, what I'm doing is working, but I'm also the one showing 30, 40 homes to one client. So clearly I need to go back to square one. So this is awesome.
Yeah. You know, obviously it saves you time, but really it's just educating these guys that, like, when I send you the list and you look through them and you're favoriting some, it's because they've appealed to you, right? In certain ways. And so let's go look at those top ones first, and then we can always go to the next level if we can't find anything. What about you, Jen and Sean? What do you guys do?
I feel like we're just copying you. We do very much basically the same system that you have, you know, talking through what their options are and looking at their favorites. And, you know, if we see, we've learned and we're still learning. So Denise, don't even worry about that. I mean, every time, you know, we have a client that Sean's taken out a couple of times that we haven't looked at what they've chosen as closely. And Sean got out there and was like, why are we here? You know, like he could have told them before we even got to the house. Sometimes you know, that maybe the first 1 or 2 times out, you sort of do that or we do that anyways, just to have that face-to-face with them. But at some point, yeah, you just have to be more efficient and be like, this is why we don't see it fitting those 5 criteria or whatever, you know. And
some people, you can have to gauge their temperature sort of along the way. Like, okay, they want to buy, but are they a buyer now? And, you know, like, we don't want to sort of fire them because they're not a buyer now. Because they're going to be a buyer. They just do not have the urgency that it's going to take to put in an offer rapidly right now. And so it's managing our time with them and seeing, like, you know, this house is going to go really fast. I don't think that you've demonstrated, I'm saying this, but in our heads, we're like, they haven't really demonstrated that we need to drop everything and go show it to them. You know, they're going to take a couple of days to think and it's going to be gone. So let's just say, hey, you know what, let's go on. Let's try Sunday or Monday. And then if the house is gone, it's sort of like, you know, helps them understand too. Now, this is for people who we know are just sort of, we've taken them out and they're not writing on houses we found that they liked. And so, you know, just all that kind of along the way, you're gauging after the first couple of times, like, okay, what's the problem? Is it me, or is it, you know, we need to help you understand the market, or what's the disconnect here? Because we can't drop everything on Saturdays and just spend, you know, a couple hours hanging out, looking at houses, just kind of, you know, checking things out. So,
right. And I think that's part of setting the expectations, right? I mean, when we did either the pre-qualification before the consultation appointment, and when we're doing the consultation, we haven't gone out to show homes yet. You know, these are really important questions to gauge the motivation of your buyer, right? What's your timeline for buying? Are you looking to buy within the next 1 to 3 months? Or, you know, are you in a lease that's not going to be up for 6 months? If they're not in the 1 to 3 month time frame, we should not be out showing homes to them. And you need to educate them and say, it's not because I don't want to, right? I'd love to show you homes because, you know, a lot of times it's fun, right? And it gives you an idea of what's out in the market. But what's out there today is not going to be out there 6 months from now. So what we can do to prepare you for 6 months down the road is, let's get our pre-approval in place. Let's, you know, get you educated on the process. We're going to do all those things. I can even set you up on a search so that you can start to see how far your dollar is going to go in this market, but we're not going to get out and actually look at homes until we get about, you know, that 1 to 3 month time frame of when you want to actually be in your home, right? So setting those expectations so that they know you are not going to drop everything on Sunday and give up your family time to go show them a house that they're not ready to buy or not able to buy at this point in time, right? So I think that's really part of the consultation. When we say consultation, that's what we're doing, is we're setting the expectation for them. So Denise, you've got a question.
So the 2 buyer groups that I'm working with are both pre-approved. And I have showed several homes to them, but they, like, for instance, one of the people, it's about the feeling. So we've showed them a lot of properties, but there's just something about it that just isn't a good fit. It doesn't this, it doesn't this. The wife is about the feeling as well. And we have less than 2 months supply. So they're looking at houses that they're interested in, but there's just something about it that just doesn't feel right.
Okay. So it might take more deep dive questions, right? When you say feel, what do you mean? Like, is it something that you can explain to me? What are you looking for? What is that feel like, right? Do they say, well, it's cozy? Like, they'll start to use those types of words. I want it to feel cozy. Or, you know, culturally, we live in an area where we have a very diverse culture. So, you know, there's feng shui that comes in. There might be different things that really apply to the feel or the vibe of the house, right? And I think you might just need to ask some deeper questions on what does that look like, right? Or what does feel like? Use some words to help me understand what feel means to you.
Well, and when we're in the house, I mean, I'm able to experience that with them. Like, there was a 1978 home we looked at. The ceilings they're probably like 9 feet instead of 12 feet.
Yep. Okay.
You know, so the individual didn't like that. He felt kind of closed in. But you don't know unless you go look at a property. And there's
sometimes
only
the
so many
can show you some things, but sometimes they don't. You're right.
Yeah. So I just, you know, and I've kind of chalked it up to, it's just taking longer to, you know, look for homes because we don't have 10 homes we can go out on a weekend.
Right. Well, I think it's just,
you know, it might be
sometimes you're right. You just have to be out in the homes with them to just get a better feel for it.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like that's the way it is right now, but
I think you can kind of, though, like, you know, push back sometimes too. And I'm sure you do, but like, you know, say this looks a lot you know, now that you've been to a few homes with them and you can see like, okay, this is a 70s house. It's probably going to have that similar low ceiling feel. Is there something about this house that you liked that you would be willing to live with? That is, you know, what is it about this home? Or, you know, kind of push back on that to get them, you know, that's what we do we've learned to do with folks who are like that, who are, you just feel like you're kind of hanging out together and just happen to be the activity as we're looking at houses,
right.
You know,
and I think
and forward in decision making where they're really eliminating, like, okay, we're not going to look at any more of these 70s houses or split levels, or, you know, we've identified things that we're eliminating. And if they're not eliminating anything from their view, then it's just like really have to kind of coach them. Like, we need to start eliminating some things because otherwise we're going to be just doing this indefinitely or until they get really pressured, you know?
Yeah. And I think doing the deep dive in the setting the priorities, it just kind of hit me like what you guys were talking about. And then, so they agree. And then maybe what is it that of those 5 priorities or whatever it is, maybe one thing that they can be more, compromising on.
Yeah.
And have them be, so, okay. I think that's where I need to kind of go back and revisit that.
And it's a great market, right? In terms of there isn't much inventory. So it's a really great time to be able to use some of those extra scripts of, hey, we have fewer choices now, which means we're going to have to give on some things. You know, if your priority is to be in a home, we don't have the selection right now to be able to meet everything that you want, right? So what are the most important things and what are some of the things that you can compromise on? And as Sean mentioned, we're consultants all the way through, not just in this consultation. We're always consulting as we're showing them homes and as we go through the process because things change. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll just do this consultation right in the middle of the whole
Absolutely. Well, and if you haven't done it
Okay.
with them, maybe it's like, hey, let's regroup. Let's meet at,
Yeah.
at the office, or let's meet at a coffee shop, and let's go, let's just kind of regroup and see if anything's changed and maybe narrow down some things. Right. And then you can kind of bring them back to doing that consultation. So,
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Hey, I just want to interrupt you real quick. In the chat, there are 3 different links. One is to the purchasing pathway that you're looking at right now. One is to the buyer consultation that Kelly and I have put together. And one is to the buyer lead sheet. They should all be able to be opened without asking for permission. They should just be PDFs. So
Thank you.
take a look at those and hopefully they work for you.
Thank you.
yeah. And I know we're getting down. We've got probably less than 10 minutes, and I have a hard stop here at about 10:05. So I'm going to just try to flow through this. Again, just that purchasing pathway, I go into, then once we find the house, we'll be writing the contract. I go over what earnest money is. I go over inspections, doing the final walkthrough, executing the closing, and then, getting your keys. So I don't want to go into all the details of that. You guys can read through that and do your spiel on, just prepping them on maybe what type of money might be needed up front in the form of earnest money inspections, just really prepping them through the whole process. And this form has been super helpful and very easy for people to understand. And it's really been a great value add and a really great way to just transition now into like your value proposition, right? So you've gone through the needs analysis, you've educated them on the process, answered their questions throughout the way, you're building value. Now you lead into really your value proposition for, what you bring to the table. So, hey, you're a first-time home buyer. I just want to let you know, I've been in the business for 27 years. I used to teach home buying classes. I'm very passionate about getting someone their first home. I have a daughter, that's 26, bought her first home. So I know that I'm going to be able to provide you with everything you need and hold your hand all the way through, right? That value proposition might be different for a first-time home buyer than maybe you're dealing with a really high-end buyer. Hey, I'm a certified luxury home specialist. I have special training in dealing in this high-end market, and I preview homes every week that are in this specialty market. I'm going to be able to find you exactly what you're looking for, right? You're bringing your value proposition to the buyer that's in front of you. So when I first started, everybody said, oh, you got to create your unique value proposition or your value proposition. I say we have more than one because it's going to depend on who we're talking to, right? So make a list of value propositions that might apply to the different types of clients that you work with. Maybe you're a VA specialist, so you're dealing with veterans. What's the value you bring to that veteran, right? What's the value you bring to the doctor? I'm a doctor, I'm a DRS agent as well. So what do you bring to the table for that client? So make a list of those, okay? And as you're doing that, you're really building why they should be working with you. And then that's a really easy transition to go into the close and the paperwork. So I always say, great, now you know about the process and everything. There's just a little bit of paperwork that we do on our end to get started. And so then I go into the agency, and that's an easy one. If you guys, I don't know where you're all chiming in from, but Minnesota has an agency disclosure that talks about the type of relationships that a buyer can have with a licensed agent, right? So we just go through the agency. We talk about facilitation. Right now, you haven't hired me, so I can only be a facilitator. I make it hurt. I can't give you my 27 years of expertise and knowledge. I can just give you data and facts about the neighborhood, the market, the whatever, but I can't advise you in any way, and I can't give you any of my expertise. However, when you hire me, right, and we're using those built-in commands, when you hire me, I become your seller's broker, which means you get all of me, you get all of my knowledge, you get all of my expertise. I can share with you everything I know about the seller and the home and the neighborhood and all of that good stuff, right? So you want to make it hurt if they don't hire you, right? I can only do this, but if you hire me, you get all of this. And then you finish doing your agency disclosure, and then you say, so are you ready to put me to work for you, right? And if so, great. To do that, we need to do the buyer's representation, and then you go through that representation agreement. So you're really just building value, and hey, Do you want all this? And if so, great. Let's sign the paperwork that allows me to do that. And I always tell people, Minnesota requires that we enter into this agreement for me to fully represent you and for me to give you all of this. And I, by law, honestly, I can't do that without this agreement. So it just seems like a real natural progression. And have fun with it. I think the more you're confident and this is like a normal part of your process, the more they're going to feel comfortable with it and confident with it. If you are not familiar and comfortable presenting an agency disclosure form or a buyer representation agreement, they're going to feel that and they're not going to feel comfortable entering into an agreement with you. Okay. So like I said, build value, make it hurt if they don't want to move forward. And then when you present it, say, hey, let's do this so that I can get working with you. Or you say, are you ready to work with me? And if they say yes, I say, great. Then we just need to go into the buyer's representation agreement. Okay. I see a question. I'm finding some buyers are hesitant. Let me read this. Are hesitant to sign a contract. Thanks for going through this and how you present. Great. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, I would say if people are hesitant, it's because you didn't do your job, right? You need to build value, not only in you, but in the representation agreement. And part of that is in that education process, right? Every state may have different laws. In Minnesota here, we can't act as a representative and we can't really give them more than a sentence sometimes if we aren't under contract to represent them. So, that's another way. Hey, I really can give you just the bare bones as a facilitator, as a full representative. I can give you everything that I know about the property, about the seller, about the neighborhood. I can really advise you. Again, with my 27 plus years experience, I can give that all to you. And then going through the contract really in just a very comfortable, confident way. I think in my 17 years of selling and my 10 years of being a mortgage lender before that, my 17 years of selling, I think I've had one person say, I'm not ready to sign anything just yet. And that was early in my career. And what I found was I wasn't doing a good enough job explaining the value of a representation agreement. Okay. I also include, if this helps anybody, in my listing agreements and my buyer reps, I always include an easy exit agreement. And what that says is, hey, if you're not feeling the love, if I'm not doing what you want me to do, and I'm very confident I'm going to meet your expectations, but if for some reason we just aren't vibing and we aren't gelling, I don't want you to feel that you're held into something that's not working for you. So at any time, for any reason, if you want to get out of this, I'm willing to let you go. Right now, that also eases people's concern too about entering into the contract, right? We want to have some teeth, but I know there's some contracts I want to get out of, and I make it very clear that this is either party can cancel this agreement at any time. So if it's not working for you, and I always say, and if it's not working for me, we both have the ability to get out of this contract, right?
Does the XP allow more leeway with that? Because I know I would like a buyer or seller to have more, some say in that, like you said.
Yeah.
And my broker said differently, like they would want to try to make that work though first.
Yeah. Well, I think, it's more about dialogue if that situation comes to light. So if somebody says, you know what, this isn't working for me, I'd like to cancel the contract. My first thing would be like, hey, let's have a conversation about that. What's not working? What could I do better? What am I not meeting your expectations on? And sometimes it's just having a conversation where you can correct that and say, you know what, I failed. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was important to you. If you can give me another chance, I'll make sure that I am focusing on that. Right. So really try to save it if you can. And if you can't, if it's something that, maybe you're just not really good at, maybe it's an expertise you don't have, then you can just say, you know what, I think you would be a great fit there's an agent in our office that they specialize in that neighborhood, or they specialize with veterans. And would you allow me to make that introduction to you? I think that you would fit very well with them. And so then that way you can save that deal for the brokerage. EXP allows us to run our business the way we run it. They don't really have a lot of, I would say, fingers in in the game. So, you know, if I need to cancel a contract, I'm able to do that. But I do value the importance of trying to keep it within the brokerage.
Oh,
Does that
yeah.
answer
And it
your
hasn't
question?
happened, but I know one time I was just in conversation brought that up. And if they don't like it, you know, they should be able to get out. And I know we had a conversation about that, but yes. I know you have the EXP end of the month conversation, which is intriguing, very intriguing.
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
questions to come, I think, later in the month when you offer that again.
Yeah.
Just as
That'll
I
be next
tune in and
week.
get more
So
information. Yeah.
yeah, we try to do that at the end of every month. So, you know, feel free to chime on in and ask some more questions.
Mhm,
So yeah.
mhm. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So to wrap it up, anybody else have any other questions on the consultation, the process? Awesome. You guys, this has been a really good one. I know we're tapping into these masterminds to learn, and we really do learn when everybody contributes. So thank you, Denise. Thank you, Sean and Jen. Thank you guys, everybody who's contributed, because I learn things as well. I'm going to check into Ninja because I like that. Thank you guys so much for spending your Wednesday mornings. Next week we will do an EXP Explored, and then we've got some great stuff for September. So I'll try to post that on Empire. If you guys are not part of the Empire Facebook page, do that, because that's where I post. Please join, because that's where I post the recordings, and we'll post what's coming up for the month ahead as well. Okay. Anybody have questions? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just a quick note, Ninja is gonna be in town at the end of September. They're doing a full, is it 4 days or 5-day training installation? And so I haven't signed up yet, but that'd be fun if any of you guys are going. I need to do that. Sean's already done it. But.
If you have information on that, Jen, if you can put that in the Empire Mastermind thing, just say, hey, we talked about this in our last thing. Here's the information on that training, because I would love that.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Well, have a great rest of your day. And if anybody has any more questions on this offline, feel free to reach out to us. I'm happy to help you at any time.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.